Anticipate possible danger ahead. Know when it's safe to make your move. And don't lose control. All vital driving skills to work on.
Yeah, that's a crash. Yeah, it's collided with another vehicle, pushed you out.
And all at the front of my mind when I became part of a top rally duo, Stewart and Burns, to see how the professionals do it.
Richard Burns is one of the top rally drivers in the world, in complete command and control the whole time. Richard, what are you looking out for?
I'm looking out for how bumpy it is, how much grip there is on the surface, anything that could cause me to lose control, how I can go as fast as possible. And I always know what's coming up, because not only obviously can I see what's coming up, but also we have a crew going in front of us to give us any warning of any changes.
But many drivers aren't in any kind of control at all. They drive far too fast, and they've no idea what might lurk around the bend.
Incredibly, some impatient drivers think nothing of overtaking cars and speeding round a blind bend on the wrong side of the road. He's got no idea what's coming. Neither has the driver of this red XR2. But it's not a blind bend that's causing a problem. His windscreen is completely shattered, and he's struggling to see out. But it's not vandals that have caused the damage. He did it himself. Locked out and late for work, the driver decided his only option was to break into his own vehicle. So he smashed the windscreen. More foolish than bad, the officers slapped a £20 fine on him and sent the short-sighted driver to the windscreen workshop across the road. But speeding in appalling weather conditions can lead to far greater penalties. This driver's vision's blinded by heavy rain as he treats the A66 in Stockton like a racetrack. The speed limit's 50 miles an hour. His average speed is double that, 103 miles an hour, recorded on the bottom left of the screen. Madness like this normally leads to a driving ban. Already disqualified from driving, an offender in Cleveland knows he's in the wrong.
I've made no attempt to stop this vehicle, but he is making off already. Speed is 60, half lane.
When he spots a police car in his rearview mirror, instead of pulling over, he takes off at high speed.
Left, 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 Ernest Street. We now have a pursuit.
Sirens wailing to alert other road users of this oncoming danger. Officers have their skills tested to the limit as they pursue the defiant driver through the narrow residential streets.
Anorak, short dark hair. We've gone round the back streets, returning to Hart Lane. Mildred Street in the Hart Lane. Left, left, left. Continuing Hart Lane, speed 70, speed 50.
Most pursuits take place at night, where cars are stolen under cover of darkness. But this pursuit in broad daylight at 3 o'clock in the afternoon increases the risk of a potential disaster. There's extra traffic using the roads and vulnerable pedestrians to take into consideration. As he rounds the corner, there's a group of young mothers on the way to pick their children up from school. The offender struggles to control the vehicle as he wildly veers from one side of the road to the other, narrowly avoiding a head-on collision with an innocent motorist.
Passing Tankerville Street to near side, approaching red traffic light, Murray Street Junction. No brake, no brakes on now. Through the red traffic light and left, 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 Murray Street.
Watching again in slow motion, you can see the target nearly hits a pedestrian who's innocently crossing the road. But undeterred, the offender relentlessly continues, barely able to control the car at speeds of over twice the legal limit.
Approaching Hart Lane Junction now, stand by. Speed 70.
Failing to make the bend, he smashes into a wall.
He's crashed, he's crashed.
As they try to make their getaway on foot, a quick-thinking ambulance man steps in, but fails to bring one of the offenders down. The driver was sentenced to 18 months in prison, plus an additional 12 months for a previous driving conviction. Like most car criminals, he lost control of the car going round the bend. But it's how you take the turns that makes a really good rally driver. Now it's my turn to be put to the test.
There are 14 events in the World Rally Championship. each with its own particular challenges. From the icy roads of Sweden to the dusty tracks of Africa. Each require different skills as well from the drivers. Well, today we're on gravel, and I'm with champion driver Robbie here, and he's going to give me a few tips on how to do it.
Steer in. That's it. See, when you felt the back end coming out, what you have to do is immediately correct.
Oh, I put the windscreen. What's that?
That's called making a pizza.
What, making a pizza?
Yeah, you know, when you're...
Oh, right.
And quite tight in. Keep it tight, keep it tight. Oh, it all went wrong.
You know, not many people have the luxury of a lesson with a guy like Robbie Head, a champion driver. I have, and I'm really grateful. The real tragedy, though, is that far too many people out on the open roads behave as if they've had that lesson or as if they've got his skills anyway.
Rally drivers stick to the course and obey the rules. But for some drivers, this seems impossible. A trip to the wrong side of the road could cost you 6 points on your licence and a hefty fine. Professional driving is about calculated moves and cool thinking. There's no place for rash decisions or hot head manoeuvres. On the open road, drivers are racing to get everywhere, including this impatient motorist who pulls out in front of the silver Vauxhall. Understandably, the driver's less than impressed. But this is no excuse for acts of deliberate road rage, forcing the Volvo driver onto the side of the road. Good driving is also about concentration, being aware of what's going on around you. So, check your mirrors and don't behave as if you're the only vehicle on the road. Oblivious to the police car behind him, this driver is in such a hurry that he brazenly goes off-road and drives on the pavement to get round a lorry. Not only ignoring the patrol car behind him, but also the sleeping policeman on the road, this youth thinks he can outwit the law by driving as fast as possible. Attempting a handbrake turn, he puts the car into a 180-degree skid that only a professional driver could recover from.
Abandon.
It's not only driving too fast that can get you into trouble. The driver at the wheel of this Fiesta seems to be travelling suspiciously slowly, and yet still can't control the vehicle. Wobbling all over the road, he's lacking in any driving skills whatsoever. Clearly in need of a few lessons, the prospect of negotiating a roundabout is sending him into a panic. Continually stalling, he jolts along at snail's pace, a foot at a time. When he finally discovers the right gear, he screeches off. And when officers pull him over, they're not surprised to find that he hasn't got a licence. In fact, he's never even driven a car before. But judging by his skills, it's probably better he stays off the road. But a new sight on the road is the £1 million Trax vehicle, the latest weapon in the battle to keep motorway traffic flowing freely. Instead of gangs of workmen physically examining the road surface, it does the same job, travelling at 60 miles an hour.
On board, there's a powerful computer that has the brain power of more than 20 PCs. Underneath the vehicle, there are 20 lasers looking for ruts and bumps. And there are 4 digital cameras taking constant snapshots of the carriageway surface. All of this technology means that the Trax vehicle can inspect 25,000 miles of roadway every year, much quicker and much more cheaply. It also means that in future, when you see traffic cones, people should actually be repairing the road rather than just looking at it.
And the fewer cones there are, the less confused we'll all be in the current maze of contraflows and roadworks on our motorways. Certainly this lorry driver would have benefited as he struggles to find his exit. Smashing into the cones, he sends them flying into the path of a police car travelling behind him. Police are so fed up with the number of people who think temporary speed restrictions at roadworks do not apply to them that they now install mobile speed cameras on most major roadworks. Of course, they undoubtedly do cause delays, and this can be frustrating. But this is no excuse for driving through them or trying to avoid them by illegally driving on the pavement. An unmarked police bike spotted these two-wheeled queue jumpers as they went off-road to avoid any delay to their journey. This shortcut didn't pay, and the rider was stopped and cautioned. But motorbikes are not the only means of police transport that can go off-road. In Cleveland, they use old-fashioned horses to control football crowds with a miniature video inside the rider's helmet. But this traditional method of law enforcement, made famous in the Wild West, sometimes faces a showdown with modern-day problems. Suddenly, mounted police find themselves in the path of a stolen car. With two teenagers on board, it speeds past them on an estate in Middlesbrough. In a scene that would be at home in a modern-day western, officers gallop in hot pursuit as the Metro disappears into a local car park. The teenagers abandon the vehicle and make their getaway on foot. As they run, the mounted officers chase the driver. The boys are in hiding, and a posse of police officers search the area. Bizarrely, the driver is eventually found holed up in bed in a nearby house. He's escorted to the local jail and later sentenced to 8 months in a young offenders institution. If he ever wants to drive again, he'll have to take an extended driving test. In part 2, why it's lights out for a teenage driver, a dangerous place to have lunch, and how a tractor had a run-in with the law.
One feature of our motorways that we all take for granted is this. It's the common crash barrier. Each barrier is designed to stop a car from careering across into the next carriageway and from catapulting back into the traffic flow by absorbing the energy of the impact. But nowadays, to cope with a variety of different hazards, including the new heavier lorries using our roads, there are no less than 7 different types. But whatever its design, whether it's boxed, wire, corrugated or concrete, each crash barrier has to be rigorously tested here at the Transport Research Laboratory. This concrete crash barrier has been hit hundreds of times in carefully controlled tests.
It's not a crash barrier that absorbs the speed of this distracted van driver, but a grassy bank that stops him from going too far off the road. Mesmerised by the sight of a police car in his rearview mirror, he'd forgotten to look ahead.
Yeah, it's a fail to stop and going upon Channel 2.
While these burglary suspects running from the law come to a rather more abrupt halt.
It's Agent 6, Sandwich now on agent message.
Stop is something this tractor just wouldn't do when Warwickshire police officers followed it into a lay-by. Instead, much to the officers' surprise, 5 tons of tractor began to reverse. Impaled on 2 metal spikes, the police car is forced backwards. The damage left the farmer with a bill for £2,500. In Humberside, the vehicle crime squad are attempting to stop a stolen car.
Arthur Street. It is a fail to stop.
This elite car crime squad, on call 24 hours a day, was set up in 1994 to deal with an explosion of motor vehicle thefts in the area. Last year, over 6,500 vehicles were stolen in Humberside. That's an average of 131 cars a week. Congestion on the main road is causing a hazard and slowing the bandit vehicle down. To avoid the traffic, it turns into a side street, ignoring a no-entry sign. The road ahead appears to be blocked by an ambulance, so with nowhere to go, they swerve onto the pavement.
And it is off-road, it's on the pavement, back onto the road.
Accelerating over speed bumps, these reckless teenagers continue to try and break away from their skilled pursuers. The unmarked police car behind them radios for backup, and marked cars join the chase. As officers close in, it's the end of the line for these young criminals and a spell in jail for the 18-year-old dangerous driver. It's very rare for an innocent motorist to get hurt in a high-speed pursuit. Far more dangerous is the apparently safe haven of the motorway hard shoulder.
Every year, more than 250 people are killed or injured right here, and it's getting worse not only for the public, but also for those who seek to help us. Recently, in 1 year alone, 6 breakdown men were killed whilst answering calls from phones like this to attend breakdowns. Well, now the RAC, the AA, the Highways Agency and the police have all agreed something has to be done. OK, thanks very much. In future, once you've reported your car as having broken down, then the recovery services have got just 30 minutes to come and sort you out. Otherwise, the police will have your car towed away. And if the car's just playing up rather than actually broken down, then the advice is keep going. Get to the next exit or service centre. Don't stop. These rumble strips are going to be fitted to all motorways so that the driver who's inadvertently strayed off the carriageway will be alerted to it. It'll reduce the number of people who end up on the hard shoulder. And finally, there's to be a national advertising campaign to make us all aware of these new rules and, of course, remind us of the existing ones.
If you do have to stop, then you should park your vehicle as close to the left-hand side as possible, angling the front wheels towards the near side verge. Put on your hazard warning lights and get out using the near side doors. Always leave pets securely locked in the car. Remember to move as far away from the vehicle as possible. Don't copy these Dutch tourists and sit right next to the car as if you're out for a Sunday afternoon picnic. Call a professional breakdown service to help you. Don't ask your mates who reverse up the hard shoulder and then stand around arguing about what should be done. But it's not just foreign tourists who fail to see the dangers of standing at the side of the motorway. Astonished officers discover a workman's compressor with a punctured tyre abandoned on a slip road. As they approach, with lights flashing to warn other road users of the hazard, they're amazed to see that there's actually a person crouched down behind it. When the owner arrives with a new tyre, police politely advise him to carry out his repairs in a safer place. His son, however, seems mystified at their concern.
Get off the bloody carriageway, you idiot.
On the M25 in Hertfordshire, this Rover driver has misread the signs and has mistaken the hard shoulder for a slip road off the motorway. 300 yards early for his exit and travelling at a speed of 50 miles an hour, any stationary vehicles with their owners stranded on this stretch of the emergency lane wouldn't stand a chance. But it's not just car owners who misuse the hard shoulder. These teenagers were picked up by Thames Valley officers who found them wandering on the motorway. And in New Zealand, officers were furious when they discovered this man wending his merry way home. It turns out the hard shoulder was his regular shortcut, back from the pub.
Hey mate, what are you doing on the motorway? Hey?
Nothing.
What are you doing walking along here?
I'm just going home.
Do you not think it's a lot safer to be on the back streets?
Not really.
Okay, well...
I don't have a car.
Well, would a deterrent of $500 fine every time you use this motorway put you off?
Oh, yeah. Very much so.
Motorway camera operators in West London alerted police to the antics of this Mercedes driver. Having taken the wrong turn, he then tries reversing up the hard shoulder, to the astonishment of other road users, who flashed their lights to try and point out his error. So he decides upon another desperate manoeuvre. But doing a U-turn here means he ends up driving the wrong way up the motorway. Reckless driving is a serious offence. It could land you with a whopping £5,000 fine, licence endorsements, or even 2 years in jail. But this doesn't deter a fleeing criminal in a stolen car. Thames Valley officers working undercover on Operation Venom spotted this vehicle on the M40. The sole purpose of this operation is to catch car thieves. Equipped with a sophisticated camera linked to the powerful police national computer, this technology recognises the target vehicle's number plate as stolen. Blocked in by slow-moving lorries, he veers onto the hard shoulder in an attempt to gain some ground on the police in their high-powered traffic vehicles. Erratically, he weaves through the traffic at high speed. Suddenly, he decides to change his route in a desperate attempt to evade his pursuers and dashes across 3 lanes, leaving the motorway and joining the A40. Even at 100 miles an hour, the criminal fails to accelerate away. The police driver continually anticipates oncoming dangers, adjusting his speed and keeping his distance from the target vehicle. As the offender takes the corner at an uncontrollable speed, the stolen vehicle spins across the road. Remarkably, no one was hurt, and the thief was charged with handling stolen property and aggravated vehicle taking. But it's not only thieves who run out of road. In Los Angeles, police inspecting earthquake damage found themselves in a rather embarrassing situation.
I'm so scared in case I fall off my chair, and I'm wondering how I'll get down the stairs. Clowns to the left of me, jokers to the right. Here I am, stuck in the middle with you. Yes, I'm stuck in the middle with you, and I'm wondering what it is I should do. It's so hard to keep the smile from my face, losing control and I'm all over the place. Clowns to the left of me, jokers to the